The headline of the piece is America's Got No Talent. And you talk about how tech workers right now are in limbo. What are you hearing?
We're talking to tech workers who are here on visas that rely on the existence of NAFTA, tech workers that are here on H-1B visas. And these are people who work throughout Silicon Valley. These are people creating important value for these huge companies. And they are honestly unsure about what might come next. We talk to people who are weighing whether they should go ahead with plans to buy a house, whether they are thinking about continuing to raise their children in Silicon Valley with this feeling that they don't feel as welcome as they once were. And it's kind of a very personal and also a professional question for them.
Sar, in the last couple of years, Mark Zuckerberg has been fighting to increase the cap on H-1B visas. Now we're just fighting to maintain the status quo. If some of these policies change, how big of an impact would it have on Silicon Valley?
It's a huge impact. Facebook is a great example of a company that for a long time said their headquarters would always be here and they wouldn't have big offices outside of Silicon Valley. And it's been so hard to recruit talent into Facebook that now we have large Facebook offices in New York and London and other places. You add an H-1B cap or restrict immigrants, and I think you're going to see the Facebook London office probably expand significantly relative to what Zuck originally had planned, as well as for many of our companies here.
Of course, we're still, again, waiting and seeing, a lot of uncertainty. Some old quotes from Steve Bannon, who's a big part of the Trump transition team, have been unearthed, where he basically indicates that Silicon Valley has too many Asian CEOs. And Trump, in the same conversation, to his credit, says, but I still think we should be bringing in skilled workers and talented people. So again, Ellen, it's really unclear where exactly he's going to fall on this.
Right. I talked to people who, looked to comment, comments from Trump on exactly that same point. We need to keep and recruit talented people into the U.S. as sort of a beacon that maybe that's something that he really values. On the other hand, it is really hard not to take his comments about the H-1B program and take them without fear, because that is a major tool by which a lot of companies recruit people in, that they rely on this. And every year it's already in such huge demand. To have anyone talk about making it more restricted is something that I think strikes fear in a lot of companies' hearts.
Now, to be devil's advocate, there are other ways to tackle this problem aside from just, raising the cap on visas, and that is, education. Sar, why don't we have enough people in the United States who can do these jobs?
I think, if anything, this election is forcing us to look at the displacement of technology with the rest of America. I mean, I think that is the core issue, and I think we're going to have to revisit that. Clearly, everything we've been doing has not been enough, and to me, that's the key question, I think, that has sort of rattled Silicon Valley to its core. So I don't have any great answers for you today. We've invested in a number of those companies like Udacity and Flatiron School and others that are trying to help make it easier and reduce the friction for folks to learn things like programming. But we've got a long way to go.
Other than waiting and seeing, Ellen, what are people doing? I mean, Sar said earlier he emailed Peter Thiel and said, what can we do? How can we be part of this? But, is anyone taking action?
Yeah, I mean, and we have companies like, firms like Charles River Ventures offering to make it easier for example, foreign founders to come to the U.S. and start businesses. I think that's also been an issue that's very close to the heart of Silicon Valley, this idea that we could have people come as immigrants to the U.S. and not take jobs, but rather start their own companies and create jobs. That's another visa program that, or visa dream that has a little bit more of a shadow on it after Trump, because he's vowed to undo Obama's actions around sort of startup visas, and that is something that we could see get reduced in the future or become less likely.